It is time for another AEW Dynamite review here on the Mr. Warren Hayes Show podcast. The first AEW review of 2024. Happy New Year! If you haven't already been the recipient of my New Year's wishes, I hope you have a wonderful one. I hope 2024 is tremendous for you. Better than 2023. Even if your 2023 was really good, I want your 2024 to be even better. That's the kind of hope I'm bestowing upon you. This is what I want. I want nothing but the best and the greatest for you, my A+ audience. But as for me, the D-list podcaster, well, I'm going to keep chugging along, and we've got the first Dynamite of 2024 to talk about today. But, we'll do the usual business. There's certain things that don't change. Leave a like on this video if you're watching this on youtube.com/Mr. Warren Hayes right now, and consider subscribing as well. I do a bunch of stuff here, all wrestling commentary related. I'm sure you'll enjoy it. If this is your first time here, give me a shot. Love to have it. Otherwise, 5-star reviews on Apple Podcasts, 5-star ratings on Spotify if you're listening to this on the audio side of things, or wherever you get your podcasts. Whatever type of love you can show there, that would be tremendous. And there we go. We're ready to go. We're ready to rock and roll with this first edition of Dynamite. So there was a lot of stuff, of course, that needed to break down, but we're going to get to it. This one that happened in Newark, New Jersey at the Prudential Center on January 3rd, 2024. 5,483 tickets distributed. Not bad, if you ask me. We've seen worse, but this is more in the higher range for AEW shows, and I'm pretty sure that if they're starting the new year feeling like this, well, probably giving them a little hope for the future. But look, I mean, things did very well for over the past couple of weeks with the Continental Classic. Maybe World's End wasn't the pay-per-view that was going to tear everything down and reignite the hope, because I think it was a bit of a middling pay-per-view. It had 3 really great matches on it, and the rest was maybe outside of the opener. Maybe the whole sandwich of the meat and potatoes of the show was so, right? Anyway, you can listen to my review if you want to hear it on this week's Mr. Warren Hayes Show proper. But as it stands, what I'm trying to say is that maybe, over the past couple of weeks in regards to the Continental Classic, and maybe it's just reinvigorated the fan base that sort of slipped away because it saw that AEW was going down a path that didn't interest them. I'm not going to reiterate all of this. We've talked about it enough, but maybe we're getting some people back. I mean, there are metrics that show that the Continental Classic was the way to go for AEW. Tony Khan addressed it himself. I even spoke about it, wrote about it, I should say, in my Continental Classic retrospective that I wrote for Voices of Wrestling. So if you want to check that out, by the way, voicesofwrestling.com, I break everything down. You see it as a bit of a post-mortem. We do some analysis, bring out some stats, do some critique, an entire breakdown from the genesis of the C2 all the way to the very end. I'm pretty happy with it. I'm pretty proud of it as well. So go check that out, voicesofwrestling.com, for my Continental Classic retrospective. That's how we used to say it back in the 80s. Everything was very retro. When Happy Days was a retro show. Let's just get on with it. Let's just get on with it. The show opened with a cold open, actually, from Samoa Joe cutting a tremendous promo after winning the title from MJF at World's End. If you did want to make a statement and you wanted to punctuate that, hey, you know what, we are moving on from whatever was happening last year with MJF in control and his creative ideas, you couldn't have picked a better choice than Samoa Joe to sort of establish it. And what was good in this promo is that, he's basically establishing the fact that he doesn't, he's ready to take on everyone, and kind of like what he said at the press conference. People were like, well, I think he got a question like, who would you like to face? And he's like, I don't care, name your favorite. That's how I think a world champion should do it as well. But good cold open, which then led into Adam Cole and his guys, the Undisputed Kingdom, as they are known now, led to them heading to the ring with new entrance music. So, we got the, it's all about the boom, Adam Cole, baby music, but that was interrupted. And we got this new tune, very heelish. So Adam Cole comes down, still with the boot, accompanied by Roderick Strong, Matt Taven, Mike Bennett, and Wardlow. And, like I said, and, here's the thing. Regardless of everything that happened and how I felt about the entirety of the brochacho stuff, you end up, you sit back, you look at these guys, you look at, all these five guys together, and you're like, this is a good group. This is a good group. I like how they, I like how they look like together. Cole, of course, has to sit down. He's still injured. That's still very, very much a shoot. And he cuts a promo, the promo that everyone was waiting for, right? Try to make sense of all of this. Well, first of all, actually, Roderick Strong grabs the microphone and tells everyone to shut up to allow his best friend, Adam, to talk. And quite frankly, listen, if you really want to snap with the past, here's what I thought he was going to do. I'll tell you, this is what I thought Roderick Strong was going to do. Does his little shtick here, and he says, asking everyone to shut up to listen to his best friend. And then he sort of teases that he's going to do the gimmick, right? The Adam thing, but he doesn't. He just says Adam Cole. To snap with the past, to make a clean break with all the nonsense that they went into. Because now the group, like I said, it's a good group. They look like they look like a good little group of ass kickers. If they continue doing shtick, it's gonna devalue, right? And you can argue that Roderick Strong's persona overall has been devalued throughout all of the proceedings with MJF and Adam Cole. And I think it would be very, very easy for him to get back on track and reestablish himself as Roderick Strong, ass kicker. But he needs to stop with the Adam shtick. He has to stop with that. Samoa and all that bullshit. He has to stop. And I thought that they were going to, I really thought that he was going to lead into this, but he didn't. He did the shtick. You either snap with a clean break. If you really are, I'm trying to say too many things at once. If you really are trying to move forward here and say, yeah, no, we screwed him up. We're bad guys now. We're real bad guys. And what we want is heat. Well, you have to stop doing the things that get people to pop, right? If you want to move away from everything that did happen, because, Cole said it himself in in his promo here, you needed a change. We're bringing the change. Well, change your gimmick as well. Leave everything you did, relegate all of that to the past. Matt Taven wasn't wearing, a giraffe print shirt, right? He wasn't. Leave all of that in the past, because now if you are to be considered serious heel ass kickers, well, you got to go down that path as well. Anyway. Adam Cole, he asks the crowd, why do you not have sympathy for me? Everyone loves the Stones, the Beatles, or the Stones, or the Stones or the Beatles. He talks about MJF and says basically, if MJF hadn't, if Adam Cole hadn't turned on MJF was going to do that whenever he would stop, whenever he wouldn't need him anymore, right? And he says, if this means turning on him makes him the devil, give me a one-way ticket straight to hell. Because he says everyone will thank him because the fact is MJF is gone and is never coming back. So again, are we going to stop pretending that MJF is a free agent? Are we continuing to assume that this is the case? Or can we just stop pretending? Right? I've been hammering this for weeks, for a couple of weeks, since people started buying into the fact that maybe MJF is his contract is up on the first. Everything has led us to this. That has led us to this point. Kind of shows that MJF isn't going anywhere and that he's probably re-signed. No booker in his right mind would have given MJF all the leeway that he got all throughout 2023 to do whatever creative he wanted, book him into a Superman Hogan type babyface champion, and then create an angle for not just between two guys, but including a bunch of people, and then no booker would have let all of that happen, and then with the pretext that on January 1st the top guy might be leaving. Like it just doesn't make sense. None of it makes sense. Well, MJF is going to take some time off to heal. His shoulder is in a bad spot. Wondering, is it going to be therapy? Are we going to do surgery? What's the plan? But whatever it is, they're clearly setting up. They're clearly setting up that MJF is coming back. And whenever MJF does come back, he's going to grab the microphone and he's going to say something to the effect of, Adam Cole, I decided to re-sign with AEW because I'm going to make your life a living hell or some kind of shit like that. And that'll be fine. That'll be great, actually. That's what he should say if he's coming back as a babyface, of course, which I assume he's going to do. And then this feud will be reignited and everyone will be really happy. But listen, so Cole breaks all of this down here, says, people wanted this to make sense. And I do listen, and I am 100% excluding myself from this because I couldn't care less. I couldn't have cared less about the whodunit. I'm, as I said on my review, I'm just glad that they went with Adam Cole because that was the logical, most story efficient way to do this. That's what made the most sense. Oh, it's Jack Perry. Oh, it's this other guy. Oh, it's Bill Goldberg. None of it made sense otherwise. So really, it's the one that makes the most sense, even if there is tons of plot holes. And people were really excited. Well, okay, Adam Cole, make this make sense. Does it make sense? Honestly, look, let's see. He said, first of all, well, I mentioned it previously. He said that the first thing is that once MJF felt like he didn't need it anymore, he would have done the same thing to him, which is probably true. And he says, keyword here, need, because Cole never needed MJF. He sacrificed everything in that friendship, and he even broke his ankle in the process, which is true. He doing a stupid save on a silly match. And he also said nobody would be cheering for MJF if it wasn't for him. And he saved MJF's title reign, but also ended it. So he said at the beginning, it was all about the title. Then it turned into something much more about destroying a man to his core, about bringing him to his knees. And, okay. So at first it was about the title. Then it became about tearing him down. When did it become about tearing him down? What was the moment? Was it at Wembley? Was it at Wembley when Adam Cole was like, I'm not winning the title? Yeah. Was it at that moment? When was the moment? And honestly, I'm just throwing that out there because I really don't care. I don't care enough for this to, for me to try and wrap my head around it, because I've been telling you all this kind of stinks. And wrestling whodunits are usually met with disappointment because you can then go back and poke plot holes and there are tons of them, tons of them. Like, why was Adam Cole hanging out with Roderick Strong? Was Adam Cole hanging out with Roderick Strong at his home? Was that the point where he suddenly became was that the point that he wanted to tear MJF down? Was that it, or was it just goofballery? What? Look, This is what I tell you all when I say there's no need for these overly complex stories in pro wrestling, because they always end up being convoluted, full of plot holes, and in most occasions, especially when it comes to whodunits, just disappointing. Because no one gets really excited. Everyone was like, I saw it coming, or, oh, they went with the obvious choice and then they get disappointed or whatever. Like there was no winning in this situation, and there still is not. Because again, at first it was about the title. When was it about the title? At what moment did it not, and at what moment did it stop being about the title? It was about the title before they were friends, and while they were friends, it still was not about the title. They did the thing at Wembley, and then at Wembley, MJF was like, I don't want to risk my friendship over this, and he was tossing, here, you take the belt, and Adam Cole was like, no, I don't want it, and I was like, well, what the fuck are we doing? It's the main event of the show. You know, it's like, who cares? Why am I watching this? So this is why I say over and over again, if you focus too much on stories and doing this type of storytelling, you're missing the point. And the point of watching of pro wrestling is watching pro wrestling. It's watching a couple of people, fight, convince us that they're having a match, and doing athleticism, fight, brawling, wrestling wizardry to make us believe that what's happening is real, or at least is at the very least highly entertaining, right? This is why I keep telling everyone, this is why I tell you week after week, there's no need to go so far and so deep into this, and ultimately the payoff is extremely disappointing. Stick to the basics, and we saw it with the Continental Classic. Stick with the basics. Stick with what all of your pro wrestlers should do best, which is pro wrestling. Because again, I remember Vince McMahon when he was years ago, when he was selling the idea of sports entertainers, he'd tell people, our guys are not just wrestlers. They're sports entertainers. Because sure, they wrestle, but they can do comedy, they can do music, they can do, all of this. Pro wrestling is the only thing on earth. It's the only form of entertainment that has this identity crisis, that feels that it has to be more than what it's supposed to be, or at least how some promoters perceive it, right? You can't just have pro wrestlers. Your pro wrestlers have to do comedy. They have to do all this bullshit, and most of the time they fail at it because they're not as good at it as they should, because they're professional wrestlers, not stand-up comedians, not musicians, not actors who are trained to do that. Just like a pro wrestler trains themselves to be the best at their art, the others do the same. Just because you see a skit on SNL, you're like, I can do that, doesn't mean it's good. You remember the Street Profits when they tried to do some SNL skits a couple of years ago on same thing. You're sitting there, you was sitting back, and you're like, this is a high school level shit. This is not funny. I see what they're trying to do. They're trying to do the Weekend Update thing, but it's not funny. Because they're pro wrestlers, and I don't necessarily expect them to be able to do comedy properly, which is such an intricate art form. People think telling jokes is so easy, but it's not. It's all about timing. It's all about your delivery. It's the same thing in pro wrestling. You can, I can do, I can throw lariats around. Yeah, but are you good at it? Because again, it's all about timing. It's about precision. You see what I mean? It's like you try to do too many things and you lose the essence of what it's supposed to be, which is pro wrestling. So I'm not surprised that the devil story ends up being, a wet fart. People are like, or people are like, yeah, of course. I'm just happy. I'm happy they went with Adam Cole because it's the most logical thing. And I'm glad it's over because it was untenable. And a lot of it had become aggravating and irritating to me. So I'm just glad it's over. And I am not going to dissect Adam Cole's reasons for doing this because frankly, I had stopped paying attention It doesn't matter. He just, my final impression is that it doesn't make sense. I still don't understand when and where, when it suddenly became about destroying MJF as a human and it no longer was about the titles. I don't care. That's the thing. I don't care because they didn't care enough to make even more sense out of it. Look, it doesn't matter. None of it matters. Let's just move on. He said it himself. New chapter. We're moving on. I'm moving on. I am so ready to move on. From the brochachos, from Roderick Strong in his fucking wheelchair, from giraffes, from fishing for Captain Insano, from bloomin' onion jokes, from Chinese food is so spicy jokes. I am so done with all of it. Completely over. All of it. Relegate that to the past so that we never have to speak of it again. Anyway. Adam Cole then iterates, everyone's after some gold. And look, Bennett and Taven are already Ring of Honor Tag Team champs. He says Roderick Strong is going to go after the international champ. That was truly a slip of the tongue. I wasn't trying to be cute here. I wasn't doing a bit. The international championship, which is good. Orange Cassidy versus Roderick Strong. Hell yeah. Let's see. I'm up. Now I'm excited. Now I'm like, okay. And he says Wardlow is going to go after the AEW World Championship. And when Adam Cole is healed, Wardlow will do the right thing and forfeit the title and give it to him. And that was interesting, right? Because that was kind of the precept with MJF. And Wardlow was sort of, he wasn't nodding, was sort of, and probably, look, if Wardlow has any level of psychology in this entire thing, if he just listened to what Adam Cole said, and I'm talking in kayfabe, of course, the guy has to go, what the fuck did I get myself into again? Why am I in this position again with these schmucks, right? Cole congratulates Samoa Joe and says it was pleasure doing business with him. So he's established that even though Samoa Joe was not part of the crew, they did have an alliance. And he says he hopes that by the time Wardlow is ready to challenge him, he hopes Samoa Joe is no longer the champion because it would suck to hurt a friend. There was a couple of, he just hurt his best friend. Then he talks about the change thing. Jay White pops in, gets on the mic, says, hey, it's my good friend Adam Cole, which, Jay White has been calling him that ever since White started noodling around in AEW, right? Even back, with the first Forbidden Door, said my good friend Adam Cole, so on and so forth. And he's like, hey, if you're such, but Jay White feels betrayed. And if anything, this makes the most sense out of it all because Jay White is like, look, you're supposed to be my friend and you sick your goons on me. So he wants revenge. The Guns come out to back him up. They fight, but they're overwhelmed. So the Acclaimed come out. Billy Gunn is there as well. The heels take a powder, and Bullet Club and Acclaimed stand tall in the ring, and Bullet Club hit the bricks as the crowd starts chanting for everyone to scissor. Good call, Jay. We don't want none of that. So this is interesting. Look, this is interesting. Is this something that Bullet Club is going to do? Is this something Bullet Club Gold is going to do here? Going to set themselves up to be a first test for the Undisputed Kingdom, as opposed to anyone else. And look, if they are the first test, if they're going to have some matches, well, the Bullet Club Gold is going to come out on the losing side of this again. I kind of want more for Jay White. I'm not gonna lie. I'm a patient man. I mean, Jay White, it's not as if Jay White is completely mistreated. He's one of the most protected guys in the company. He's only been losing terribly big matches. But you kind of hope for more. Look, let's see how this goes. But it kind of feels like they're setting up Bullet Club here to be a fall guy for the Kingdom over the next few, which I'm not excited about. But then again, you had to do this. You had to address this as soon as possible. And the same with the Acclaimed. Once the Devil guys are revealed, Jay White was taken out, the Acclaimed were taken out, and commentary put this over enough. If they had just poo-pooed this away and forgotten about it, this wouldn't have made any more sense. At least this makes sense. Will probably lead us into something. But, you know, the Kingdom are going to do their thing here. But I guess my final thought is that, you know, Adam Cole as a heel is so much better. He's ridiculously better. His promos are more natural. They flow more. They feel more real. He's more authentic. You know, for a guy who apparently is, you know, legitimately a nice guy and everyone gets along with, you know, his performances as a heel are always better. So even though I'm like, I don't care about the content of this. Who gives a shit? He was very good. He was very, very good. We get a video package next around the Eddie Kingston winning the Continental Classic. Then after that, Dan Garcia cuts a promo about his main event match a little later on against Swerve Strickland, which leads us to the first match of the night. AEW International title. Orange Cassidy successfully retains against Dante Martin. A fine little match they had here. Martin was doing some good psychology on Orange Cassidy, who did get flustered during this match. Got a little annoyed, right? Because Dante Martin was doing his shtick, which Orange Cassidy did not do, right? He didn't do a lot of his typical shtick here. He didn't fall for it. He in fact responded with aggression. We got the DDTs in by Orange Cassidy. At some point he rolls away from Dante Martin, who's climbing up on the top rope. So what does Martin do? Well, he walks a little bit across the top rope and then splashes all the way to the other side of the ring, which was pretty cool. But it's an orange punch that secures the win for Orange Cassidy. Good little match they had. After the match, Hook, Danhausen come to the ring for Orange, and Darius Martin and Action Andretti come to check in on Dante, and everyone is there. Orange Cassidy shakes Dante Martin's hand, and then Private Party show up with their full entrance with the gate thing. What do you call that? I don't remember what it's called. The rope. Someone will tell me. I don't know why I don't remember what it's called. The rope gimmick. That's not what it's called. I'm going to call it the rope gimmick for the purposes of this recording right now. And they're on the mic, reintroduce themselves, get a big reaction, lots of welcome back. They get in the ring and they said they're putting the entire tag team division on notice, including FTR, the Young Bucks, and even the Hardys, who Isaiah Cassidy had been teaming with recently. So that made everyone go, oh. No mention of the current champions, despite the fact that they said, no, we're coming after some tag team gold and we're putting the tag team on notice. And they mention a couple of tag teams except the current champs. Look, Private Party back, that's fine. It's going to be interesting to see what they do. You know, one of the original tag team that, you know, eliminated the Young Bucks from the original tag team championship tournament, right? Clearly they saw a lot of great things in them. And then at some point, things just didn't click. Stuff wasn't happening. I I think they just had trouble translating to the bigger stage, and Private Party sort of became a tertiary thought. Never came across as contenders. If they want to reinvigorate, reintroduce themselves, allow Mark Quinn returning from injury to shoot some new life into the team and their potential, go right ahead. Let's see what happens. But they weren't exactly tearing the house down to begin with. And, it's not just a question of they weren't being pushed, because they had been pushed. I think they fell short of expectations. Let's see what happens. Renee Paquette is backstage with Swerve Strickland. He's talking about how 2024 is going to be a year of championship gold for him. I'm down with that. I'm ready for that. And then we finally had the wrestling debut, the AEW debut, I should say, of Marriah May. She defeated Queen Aminata. I'm going to tell you, she looked good. I don't have many notes that, we're not talking, 4-star special here. It's a solid, good little match. What did I gave this a little, the gentleman's 3-star rating. I thought this was a solid, short match. I thought her being Marriah May, I thought her offense looked aggressive, solid. It looks good. She's crisp. She lands a great drop kick at some point. Like, her time in Stardom clearly brought the best out of that aspect of her game. I thought she looked very good. There's no slouch here. We're not getting another. This is not another Sky Blue. She worked well. Good outing as far as the debut goes. I mean, it's good. It's good. And Aminata had a great hope spot here too. They were trading chops on each other. It was worked very aggressively. I liked it. Fireman's carry slam by Marriah May gets the win. What did she call it? The May Day? I forgot to write the name down. I think that's what she calls it, right? So she gets the win. She's interviewed after, but she's interrupted by Deonna Purrazzo coming out to a solid reaction from her hometown Jersey crowd. Tells Mariah May to tell Toni Storm that she's coming for her because she is all elite. Deonna Purrazzo, part of the roster now. Mariah May says she's not the messenger, and she can tell Toni that herself, bitch, which prompts Deonna to attack her. I am a big fan of Deonna Purrazzo. I think she is a solid pro wrestler. She is a lovely human on top of that. And I'm a tremendous fan of hers. It's a good career move for her. What else could she do in Impact? Like, she's in Impact, she's been up and down around the block so many times. TNA, I should say. No. But she served her time in Impact. Look. She's been up and down and all around that place, right? What else was there for her to do? Go back to WWE? I think this is ultimately a place where she can be more herself and continue the persona that she's created for herself in Impact. And AEW will allow her to have the matches that will resonate with people and resonate with her much more than in the other place where they'd probably just slap her up together with, Chelsea Green or whatever. And then, we all can see how that would go. But here's the thing. I think Deonna joining the women's division in AEW has risen the floor. I think now there is, and I'm going to throw Mariah May in here. I think the floor has just gone up, and we're going to get more and more impatient with other people on the roster who were surprisingly not on the show, because it appears that they were always on every show, but on every AEW show. But we're going to get a lot more impatient with people who are not progressing and who come across as slouches when you have people like this who are your entry level, who are going to be and I don't mean this in a disparaging way. Don't get me wrong. I know how maybe this is coming across like I'm saying that they're beneath that Deonna is beneath everyone, Marriah is beneath everyone. No, I think the floor has been raised with the addition of Deonna Purrazzo. I think the entry level here for quality wrestling from the women's division has just kicked it up a notch. I'm excited for this, and I'm excited for Deonna. And I know Deonna's not everyone's cup of tea either. I know she's, one of the things you'll hear is like, oh, well, if she's so great, where are all the 5-star matches? Maybe this is the place. If Toni Storm could unshake the gimmick for a little bit, if she could shake off the gimmick a little bit, I'm sure they'd have a tremendous match together. Jamie Hayter's going to come back at some point. She's the ace of the division. I only see this as a positive. And then there's the rumors that the other lady's on the way. You know the one I'm talking about. I see this as a positive. Now, are we going to... Here's the thing. In regards to the women's division in AEW. I don't harp on it every week because it does get a little tedious, because look, there's things at some point where I just have to stop talking about it every week, because then you guys and gals and non-binary pals listen to it and go, oh, there goes old man Hayes again. Kind of like with the business aspect, with the attendance for AEW for a while. It's like, well, the attendance is bad, but I'm not, what am I going to do? I'm going to sit here and reiterate all my points again? No. But in regards to the AEW women's division, I agree that it hasn't been, I was going to say stellar, hasn't even been great, especially recently. And there's no reason that this division should be underwhelming, not with the quality of talent that they have. The people that they are deciding to push makes for some questionable matches, which we saw at World's End, for instance. But there's no reason that this division should come across as being so much in the mud as it seems to be. Now, Tony Khan has he's talked about, doing changes, and a lot of talk about changes from him at the press conference. Adam Cole talking about new chapters, people wanted to move on, we're moving on. Is 2024 the year that Tony Khan gets serious about his women's division? Because, look, as much as I just want to watch some great pro wrestling, I also believe in women's wrestling. I believe that it deserves a spot. And if you as a promoter, if you treat it like an afterthought, the audience is going to go along with that. That's just how you push people, right? That's just how things go. If you make people believe that something is important, if you make them believe that something is important, they're going to latch onto it, they're going to believe in it, and you're going to get people behind it. If you never push your women's division, if you never make it come across as something important or serious, what's the point? What are we doing? Yeah. That's it. By the way, I forgot I realized that I skipped the backstage interview that Renee Paquette had with Toni Storm, where she prattles off some things. But I think the crucial part here was that the most important part here was that Toni Storm was saying that, she doesn't watch pro wrestling, so she's not going to watch Marriah May, her match. I forgot to mention that. So that's where we're at right now. Look, we got Christian Cage and the Patriarchy coming out. Top rated segment, I predict. They have Shayna Wayne, Mother Wayne. I think that's so funny. Mother Wayne do the, you're booing me, you would boo a mother. And I'm glad they didn't get, when she got the mic, look, when she did her promo a couple of weeks ago, was it last Dynamite, or the week before? I said, she has NXT cadence. I think she stinks. This was not a good promo. And when they handed her the mic again, I was like, oh. no, not again. But it was just to do the intro, to do the "you would boo a mother," which I think is tremendous. I think all of this stuff is so over the top and fantastic. No, we're not booing you because you're a mother, because because Christian Cage is a scumbag. That's the thing. So she passes the mic over to Christian Cage really quickly. And he says that, he went to war to defend his title. And there's some people he needs to thank. First, he's going to thank Mother Wayne, the matriarch, for being so selfless and understand whatever, And, secondly, he has to thank his pride and joy. His boy, Nick Wayne, gives him a big kiss on the head, says that he put his body on the line during the match. And he kisses his forehead. I fucking love this so much. You have no idea how great I think this is. And last, he'd like to thank the man that sealed the deal for the victory at World's End. And he's standing right next to Killswitch, and he's teasing that he's going to thank Killswitch, but of course he does not thank Killswitch. He thanks himself, which generates huge Luchasaurus chants from the audience. Huge, to the point that Christian Cage has to raise his tone on the microphone. He has to start talking louder than the audience because he doesn't want to address it. He wants to get his time in. But the audience is very, very loud in these Luchasaurus chants. Even a little later, when they do a second series of Luchasaurus chants, he has to address them. He says, his name is Killswitch. Says Adam Cole, he's defeated Adam Cole for the final time. He's 2-0, so back of the line with you, Adam, which is not true, of course. Because Adam Cole did defeat Adam Copeland. Did I say Adam Cole? Have I been saying Adam Cole? Adam Copeland. Beat him at World's End. So they're 2-1 at this point, but Christian Cage is an asshole. Right? So he's not gonna recognize this shit. And Adam Cole has to look in the mirror and realize what Christian Cage has been saying for years, that Christian Cage is superior to him, echoing a lot of wrestling fans. And he said that Copeland brought the fight, and he likes to think that both of them left a little bit of their souls in the ring, but one of them doesn't have a soul, and that's why he's still TNT champion. God, Christian Cage he doesn't miss. He's tremendous. And he's going to remain champion until he hands it off to his boy Nick Wayne to carry on the family legacy. This is so good. It's so good. There has not been an act in AEW in 2023 that has been so consistent as Christian Cage has been. Tremendous stuff from top to bottom. And he said it himself. That Adam Copeland is going to have to look in the mirror and realize that Christian Cage has always been the superior, which is what a lot of fans say, which is something that I believe in as well. I always thought Christian Cage was undervalued, underappreciated, and I'm glad that he's able to shine like this on this stage after years of crafting and working this persona that he has. Absolutely remarkable stuff. And the way that everything is approached with this guy, he never runs out of fucking steam. Why? Because he's not overdoing it. He's not papering the show from top to bottom with skits and bits and nonsense. He's sticking to the basics, coming out, cutting kick-ass promos, having a persona that is entirely believable. Because here's the other thing, is that the talent is there too. Any other wrestler trying to do this would not be as successful. I am 99% guaranteed, because maybe I'm just going to keep that 1% open just in case like some magic would happen with someone that you wouldn't be expecting. But I don't see this gimmick, what he's doing right now, at the level that he's doing it for so long. I don't think it would be as good with anyone else. Renee Paquette is backstage with Ruby Soho, Saraya, and Harley Cameron, Harley Cameron is really excited to be a part of the Outcast, and says she'd do anything. Like, she means anything to do. All right. We're getting into the horniness here. All right. Let's just see what happens. Look, I got nothing. Harley Cameron is very close to having go home heat with me. Very, very close. Because I thought she was horrendous in the QTV shit. I thought everyone was horrendous in the QTV shit. You know, she's not special. But whatever it is, she's, the last week with the knife, I'm like, she's this close. Then we had Konosuke Takeshita defeating Darby Allin in unquestionably the match of the night. What a riot this was. What rockin' and rollin'. I gave this 4.25 stars in my little notebook gimmick here. 4.25 stars. And this was Konosuke Takeshita's first match singles match since June 2023. Give us what we want, Tony. Before you signed the guy, you had him on every fucking week, doing sicko matches, throwing caution to the wind, having us popping out of our chairs even though he was losing. Then what were we saying back then? He's got to start winning some matches. Then he gets signed, and he doesn't wrestle singles matches anymore. Look, he's in a good stable. He's in he's in a good spot. Match of the night. And this is what people want out of Takeshita. Strong, impressive, innovative offense. Wild offense. Things that you're like, this guy's impossible. Everything that makes Konosuke Takeshita good, we saw in this match. He can go even above and beyond this because we've seen better out of him. But this is his base level. And this is something that we're excited about. And Darby's the guy, perfect guy to put in this match to get him over on that level as well. Just rolling German suplexes on the ramp was just tremendous. I'm like, what the fuck are we doing? Darby Allin does a dive. And he eats a flying knee as a counter. Great stuff. Takeshita does a belly to back pile driver in the ring, and Darby Allin does a top rope flipping stunner. And he gets Konosuke Takeshita to knock his knee on the top of the railing and on the floor, and Takeshita tumbles over it in a great bump, a fantastic spot. It was great stuff. Coffin drop to the floor by Darby. Takeshita does those flipping Germans in the ring, just like tossing Darby all over the fucking place. Super avalanche German suplex. Darby does the thing where then he asks for more even though he knows he's done. So Takeshita obliges. Knee strike. He gets the win. I'm a simple man. Just give me guys beating the shit out of each other in wild ways like this. This Takeshita's offense is so good. It's crisp, it's believable, it's hard hitting, it's fast, it's impactful. Darby was perfect in this spot here. I loved this match. I thought it was great. Renee Paquette interviews the Don Callis family backstage after this match, and they challenge Sting and Darby in Daly's place next week. Then we have a number one contenders match for the AEW Continental Crown. It's a four-way. Trent Beretta defeats Brian Cage, Brian Keith, and El Hijo del Vikingo to become the number one contender. Eddie is on commentary for this one. Like, this is one of these four ways where it's like it's one-on-one guys all throughout. And I'm like, so what's the point? What are we doing? It doesn't matter. Like, the fact that it was a four-way didn't change a goddamn thing. I was like, it was just one-on-one the entire way. Cycling in and out of guys. Felt very tropey. I wasn't that much into it. Fine little match. I mean, It was all right. Everyone got their stuff in. But look, Brian Cage, this is the tale of the Bryans here. Brian Cage, tremendous as usual. You know, I've been very high on Brian Cage recently. Brian Keith, he's starting to get his signature offense over with the AEW crowd. I wonder why that is. I wonder why they flew him in to Newark. Is it Newark? Yeah, we were in Newark, right? I wonder why they flew him into Newark. Probably starting to hear that he's turning down some dates. Starting to hear that he's telling promoters that are that he's telling promoters he can't do the JOB anymore. If it, as Homer Simpson once told us, if it looks like a signing and it tastes like a signing, brother, it's probably a signing. Danhausen hops into this match because he's affiliated with Trent to curse Brian King. Oriharu moonsault by Vikingo. But it's a scrunchie by Trent that gets the win. Look, Vikingo really quickly. Very tepid stuff. I don't know. Look. Has the sheen of Vikingo sort of worn off? Or is he just unable to do all the stuff that he can anymore? Or does he save it for other matches? The thing here is that I think Vikingo's at a spot where he needs to try other things. And I think he needs to evolve his style into a wrestling style and not just be a high spot guy, because when he's not doing the high spots, you're like, okay, well, it's Vikingo, right? It's great. But what else, it's nice to see him, but he's not blowing my mind here. There's that dichotomy, I think, that's appearing when it comes to Vikingo, that I mean, and it's on him to fix it, right? It's not up to us, but it's on him to realign and get shit done, so that his style can go further than just doing mind-boggling feats of athleticism. I'm not saying that he shouldn't do them anymore, but he maybe has to fill out between. I think he has to become a more rounded pro wrestler. He's still young, I'm not saying he's done or washed or anything, but you can feel it here. It's like, I mean, he does that, that twisting Rana thing, right? Which is absolutely phenomenal. But it's Vikingo. You're sort of expecting wild shit because that's what he's taught you to expect from him, if that makes sense. And Trent here gets the win, so he's going to be the first challenger for Eddie Kingston. I think this is a good first opponent, someone that Eddie can beat, because I don't think anyone expects Trent to do it. Someone Eddie can beat. Quick little match in and out. We can move on to a bigger challenge. I think this is a good first challenge. Matt Menard, Daddy Magic, is backstage with Renee Paquette. She's about to interview him, but just before she starts, Adam Page arrives at the building. He's got his bag. He's arriving like 20 minutes before the end of the show. I think you missed show call, Adam. And he just overtakes the interview, and he's mad and he's pissed off, and he's like, look, he's here to beat someone's ass after Samoa Joe had goons put him through a windshield. Some real glass. I was kind of disappointed he didn't say real glass. That would have been really fucking funny. He doesn't care who it is. Put one and one together. This is the last segment before the main event where Swerve Strickland is involved. And yeah, the main event, Swerve Strickland defeated Daniel Garcia. Another good little match. I thought this was well worked, well put together, good effort. You even have Nana and Daniel Garcia have a dance-off on the floor. They even do the Hulk Hogan, Dwayne Johnson WrestleMania thing, where they look off, as if it's the mega powers of dance. So they do that, but a little bit of nonsense, but it doesn't distract from the match. The match is actually pretty good. I enjoyed it. I thought this was a nice, solid match. I gave it 3.5. Daniel Garcia tries to do the Dragon Tamer on commentary, and he doesn't quite have his footing. Swerve isn't well positioned. They fall off. They tumble off. I kind of liked it. I liked it. And sure, it's a mishap, a botch, whatever you want to call it. But I liked it because it made sense. Why would you do a Dragon Tamer on the table? Like, it's a very ill-advised thing to do. Why would you do that? Because there's not enough room. Because you're not going to get a submission win because you're on the floor. It's like, why are you doing this in the first place, Dan? So bit him in the ass. And it kind of goes with his story that, he's in a bit of a... he's in a bit of an identity crisis right now between his sports entertainment persona and being a pro wrestler. So it makes sense that he'd try this out, and that it fails. So, it all sort of ties in. I liked it. Didn't bother me. Superplex by Garcia followed by a suplex by Swerve Strickland, I should say, who tries to put Daniel Garcia away with the sidekick and the stomp. Doesn't work, but it's the JML driver that does the trick. Swerve Strickland wins. I know, and I think there's a lot of people who reacted very negatively to the fact that this match was booked. And I'm like, no, book more matches with guys who you feel can't take a loss. I'm okay with this. Strickland is on the ascent. He can't take a loss. Daniel Garcia, you feel like he needs the wins here, but they're telling the story that he's lost right now and he doesn't quite have his footing. He's in an identity crisis. He's lost his group of sports entertainers. He's tried to make peace with the fact that he's not a pro wrestler, and now this is coming back to haunt him. So Garcia taking the L here works. And this was when we were like, okay, let's go. Like, strong, ballsy booking. I'm okay with this, with two guys who can benefit from a win. But one of them has to lose. And look, we didn't 50-50 it. We didn't sugarcoat it. It wasn't like, 3 levels of interference and a ref bump. No, Garcia lost clean as a whistle. I'm okay with this. And it works for Garcia's story. Matt Menard comes in after because Swerve wants to shake his hand, Garcia's hand, and then Nana low blows him, Garcia. And then Matt Menard comes in for the save and he gets beaten down for his issues. And then Hangman Adam Page comes out. And he stares down Strickland. And Strickland, he looks a little worried, then starts to smile. But Page just starts beating his ass. Big pull-apart brawl. I am okay with revisiting this. We're going to go for a third match. Most likely, right? Something's going to happen here. I'm okay with revisiting this. I think Page, if they do lead to a match, I think this means Page has to get a win. And this is where you have to start being careful with Strickland, right? Because if Strickland, I'm okay with revisiting the match, but I don't know if I would have done this just yet. Because if you're going to, because Strickland couldn't get the job done in the Continental Classic, and yes, he's beaten Adam Page twice, right? Can Page really lose a third time? Probably not. You probably want a guy that is, I think, perceived by many to be the ace of the company, despite the fact, anyway. But at least I'm talking perception. As to whether he is or not, we could have that discussion. But I think, if we're doing another match, I think Page has to get a win here. If Strickland loses again, then I think the luster starts to fall off a little bit, because then it's like, well, sure, he had some good matches, but now is he on the downfall? Is he slipping? Sure, he got the big win at the pay-per-view. He got another win against Garcia here, but Page is a guy, Swerve is a guy. Again, I'm all for ballsy booking. If Strickland wins again, there's no stopping this man in 2024. You punctuate Swerve Strickland being a world champion this year, right? If he beats Adam Page a third time, and he's 3-0 against Page. And I'm not saying that Swerve losing to Strickland is going to be the death knell. What I'm going to say is that I think the veneer is going to start to crack. I don't think it's going to be as compelling. I don't know if I would have revisited this so soon. I think I would have given Strickland a big time promo, and maybe this is just an aside to something. Let's see how things turn out. But I can't say I'm disappointed in this. I love Adam Page. I love Strickland. I love their matches. There's a lot of positives to come out of here. A lot of positive. No sign of Chris Jericho on this show. By name, presence, nothing. That doesn't happen very often. At the very least, I think it was a smart idea to let the heat die down a little bit. Just saying. But on that note, we're going to wrap up this review of a good little Dynamite. It was a great but I enjoyed myself. It was a good post-pay-per-view show where a lot of big things happened on the pay-per-view. Good little matches. One legitimately great one. I enjoyed myself. The greatest of all time? No. It was good. Good little episode of Dynamite. And I hope you enjoyed this good little episode of the Mr. Warren Hayes Show AEW Dynamite review. One more plea for a like or a subscribe or a 5-star review or a 5-star rating. I will be back on Sunday, nonetheless, for the Collision review. I will be back doing that. And on Tuesday for the Mr. Warren Hayes Show proper. But in the meantime, I hope you all have a great rest of your week and a great weekend. And I will see you next time.